So in this giant box, we've got some big new releases from Orient. Let's take a look at them and I'll give you my thoughts. So here we have 3 versions of the same watch, despite the difference in packaging. Now these should be the new Mako Solar Chronographs, which have been released in 3 new colours, one of which is like a special edition version to celebrate Orient's anniversary, and it's got like a textured dial apparently, so let's see how that looks in the flesh. But we'll start with the 2 plain ones first of all. Thanks to TUS Watches, by the way, for sending these in for this unboxing video. These are on loan and they all will be going back once this video is done. You'll find a link to all 3 of these watches on their site in the video description. So in here we should have a red version, an ice blue, I think it was. And then the third one is like a dark blue, the special edition. So let's have a look at these 2 standard versions first of all. So this is the light blue version, which I think is probably the best of the 3. Now this colour in the flesh looks the best a lot of the time out of these Orient chronographs. But I've noticed on camera it looks maybe the worst. Definitely heavily diver inspired, 20 bar water resistance, a little bit on the thick side. That's despite it being a solar chronograph. If you're familiar with other Orient models like the Komatsu or the new Mako 3, the bezel is exactly the same as those. And I wonder what crystal's on top of this. I'll quickly check it, because to me this crystal looks a little bit hazy, suggesting that it's probably sapphire. Can't remember from the product listings, but we'll give it a test. Case finishing is maybe better than I remember. I have looked at this watch before in another colour variant, but I don't know, I distinctly remember being underwhelmed by the case, but maybe I was wrong. So we know this Swiss watch company watch uses sapphire, yep, there we go. And then in comparison, this new Orient, yes, it is sapphire indeed. Let's have a quick look at the red one as well. Oh, wow. So I recognise this red colour. This is exactly the same red as they used on one of the Komatsu watches. And it's a very distinctive blood red. Now my qualms with these watches actually isn't the dial tones. I think both the dial tones look good. It's the bezels, to be honest, and the sub-dials. It just looks like they've tried to get away with using the same on every single watch, and it just doesn't look well tailored enough to the dial color for me. As a result, despite this, I mean, the red is actually really nice in person, just like the red Komatsu. And I'm just not sure about the final result, the completed package. While they are quite stubby, they're maybe a little smaller than I remember too. Bezel size is 40 millimeters, but the lug to lug is short, really short, 47.8. Okay, not really short then, but it is short. And a thickness of 13.2, so it is a little bit chunky. But yeah, out of those 2, the red, give it a good look at that. It's certainly the more impactful, shall we say, of the 2. The light blue looks okay, but I don't know, I'm still just not feeling the black bezel. The black bezel maybe goes a touch better with the red one. We'll try them on in a minute, but let's have a look at this special edition one, because these special edition Orients, they've got this textured dial, and I'm just not sure how they're going to come out in person. From the looks of the stock images, I thought they looked maybe a little bit tacky, to be honest. This is one of Orient's first real attempts at a textured dial in some time, to be honest. The last sort of dial textures I remember from Orient were on some of the TriStar watches. Now the box is far nicer, wow. You can see it for yourself. It's almost got like a leatherette touch, like a soft touch outer. But the rest of the watch itself should be identical, same solar movement, same bracelet and specs and that. I mean, this one is certainly unusual. I mean, I think you're either going to love this or hate it. Has black pushers and a black crown, which I can't say I've ever seen before, and then a Batman-esque colour scheme paired with gold hands. And then, yeah, the actual outside of the bezel is all black as well, so that's highly unusual. Now from this distance, you can't see the dial texture. It certainly isn't prominent at all. It's only when you get up close that you can see it. From this distance, it just looks like a standard blue chronograph, but there we go. You should be able to see it now. And it looks fine. I mean, far more subtle than the likes of some of these Chinese watches I've been seeing recently. For example, the wave dial San Martins. The effect is far more prominent. This, you really have to look for it to be able to see it, which is something you're either going to want or not want, right? If you're after that kind of subtlety, this may work. And the effect looks half decent, but again, it's just like the whole package. I'm just not 100% feeling the whole design of it. And I can't help but feel like textured dials have been done to a higher level of execution elsewhere without them even having to be a limited edition, if you get what I mean. There's a quick look at it close up. There's a look at the blue one, the icy blue. And you know, even some of it is the fact that the bezel here is black, but then the subdials aren't even black themselves anyway. They're another colour. I don't know. Just lack of congruence, if that's the word, or continuity. And here's the red one. This light definitely shows off what it actually looks like. I mean, the red is killer itself. Just still not 100% sure on these bezels. That was the one thing that they did really well with the Orient Mako 3 and the Mako Sport. The bezels really felt like they were part of the design rather than just latched on and reused from other models like this feels a bit like. But let's try them on the wrist. Maybe I'll change my mind. On wrist, I'd say they fit maybe about as you'd expect. Maybe a tiny bit smaller than the diameter would suggest. I think across the middle without the bezel, what are these? Maybe approaching 42 millimeters depending on where you measure. They definitely don't feel that big. They feel more like a 40 mil, to be honest. Yeah, and they maybe look a little bit better on the arm. I still personally wouldn't buy one of these. Here's the red. It's definitely the most flashy of the three, I'll say that much. But on wrist, I think maybe the light blue looked a little bit better. You'll have to excuse the stickers because these will be going back, given that they definitely don't fit me. And then the textured dial special edition. Well, it certainly looks unusual. Maybe a bit Invicta-esque. Overall then, I definitely don't like these as much as some of their other releases. I think, you know, some of the Bambinos that we've seen recently have been really quite exciting. And it tends to be this way with Orient, a little bit hit and miss. I can't help but think that this was put together in a very short time span. And it's got some strengths, but they need to change them bezels, I think. It's the same with the new solar version of the standard Mako diver that they've released. The bezels on those are a bit of a disaster. If you follow our In the Loop newsletter, which is linked in the description, you will have seen my coverage of those when they came out. And I wouldn't say these are quite as bad as those, but it's the same theme, really. But if you do like them, they're all linked in the description alongside any codes I might have at TUS Watches.